Chelsea 1, Man City 1. Should we just keep the guy that's there? Is it really going to make any difference at this point? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And I'm not delighted just because there's so much going on, but at the same time, cool, man, wicked. 1-1, point at City. We didn't fall away quite as much as we expected to. The thing for me in totality about this game is if we'd have had Enzo Maresca still, and we'd have come off of the back of a better run of form, not one win in 7 Premier League games, and we got a draw against Man City, we'd still be happy, wouldn't we? It's one of those, unless you genuinely thought we were on for a title season, there's kind of no situation, even before this week and everything that's gone on, even before the Everton game, where Enzo Maresca made those comments, there's kind of no point where you wouldn't have said, I'd be happy with a draw against City. But guys, before we properly get into it, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so Callum McFarlane, man, fair play to him. Fair play to Reece James, said it in his post-match interview. Fair play to the staff. Their first Premier League game, do you know what I mean? Managing a Premier League team against, the title challengers in Man City, who have also won, 5 out of the last 6-7 Premier Leagues. So it's absolutely crazy, really, when you think about it. The starting lineup wasn't exactly, didn't contain any magical surprises. We're probably not going to see anything too different until the next manager steps in, and we kind of all expect that to be Rosinia at this point, don't we? Just as a side note to that, he's been spotted at the airport, so we can probably imagine that's going to get announced tonight or tomorrow or imminently. Ultimately, it's going to happen imminently, and you would have thought he'd be in the dugout for the Fulham game. But yeah, the starting 11. So, bearing in mind, we were without Moises Caicedo, we were without Marc Cucurella. It was a reasonably strong starting lineup. We were also actually, for the first one, without Rob Sanchez, and I audibly groaned when I saw the lineup, and I was like, oh man, as if things aren't already bad enough. Robert Sanchez is injured. I hope that is not a serious injury. I haven't actually heard anything about it yet, but ultimately, if it was a serious injury, I think we probably would have heard, so hopefully he'll be back for the Fulham game. But that does mean that Jorgi, good old Philip Jorgensen, made another very rare Premier League start for himself. The back line was comprised of Malo Gusto at left back, Badiashile and Trevor Chalobah in the centre of defence, with Josh Achiampong finishing the back four. Midfield of Reece James in for the suspended Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. A attacking midfield three of Pedro Neto on the left, Cole Palmer in the middle, Esteban Williams starting on the right, and João Pedro started up top. So for the most part, it's probably the starting lineup that Maresca would have put out. I don't know what's going on with Fofana. Little bit of a worry. Is he injured again? I'm not even really sure. I've been so hyper-focused on the Maresca news that I've actually missed whatever else of the team news might have come out. So I'm not sure what's going on with Fofana. Hopefully he'll be back soon. I was a little bit concerned about Badiashile because he did give the goal away in the Aston Villa game. And it just hasn't been very good recently, has he? Let's be completely honest. He hasn't been very good recently. Maybe Fofana wasn't playing because he's only allowed to play 1 game a week or something like that. I'm not absolutely sure. But overall, the first half, I was already not impressed, but I was relieved that there was some modicum of defensive solidity. We were not just absolutely pulled apart by Man City, which is 100% something that could have happened. There were a couple of obvious immediate changes compared to what we've been used to seeing, and it's not something I'm too sad to see go. Malo Gusto played at left back, but he actually pretty much played at left back. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't any of this inverted midfield, get him in the 10, shadow striker, supporting the attack, none of that. He basically played as a left back for the most part. Josh Achiampong pretty much played as a right back as well. Whether this is something we're going to see a lot going forward, I don't know, but it does make sense, against a Man City team who can pull you apart, especially if we're leaving gaps in midfield with a team that's, going through it at the moment. So, yeah, that was kind of interesting, man. They obviously got their first goal just towards the end of the first half. It was a lovely goal from Tiani Reinders. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his name, but he scored a lovely goal and made it 1-0 at half-time. And even with that, I was like, do you know what? With Philip Jorgensen in goal, Maresca sacked, the team's mentality potentially in the mud because of everything that's been going on and the, what's going to happen in the future and this, that and the other. It didn't go too bad. It was also interesting to see Cole Palmer's role. Cole Palmer's role looked different again. He looked like he had a little bit more freedom today. He does still look like he's playing off some of that rust, but ultimately, I think they kind of went for like a safe bet with the formation and the tactics and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But what was really interesting was when it came to half time, right? Because when it came to half time, I expected more of the same. And I thought if we were lucky, we could come away from this game 1-0, maybe 2-0, 2-1, something like that. Just not an absolute pounding. And I'd have been reasonably not happy, but less mortified. Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to reduce the margin for error in my own mental health when it comes to football at the moment. So, that was what I was kind of worst case scenario setting myself up for. But something really, really interesting happened. Esteval William was taken off. He didn't have an amazing showing in the first half, to be fair. He had some okay opportunities, but didn't really get into the game. He was replaced by Andre Santos. And I was like, that's interesting, because Andre Santos, not exactly hugely fancied by Maresca, I think is the truth here. And what we know is if it is Liam Rosenior that comes in, Liam Rosenior loved Andre Santos, and instantly we've seen him been brought in to change the game. This is a really big thing here. It's not just like, we're going to put Andre Santos on whatever. It's like, no, you've made a tactical substitution that is essentially based around Andre Santos coming into the midfield, which made a really, really positive impact on the game. Honestly, it really, really, really did. And also, the other change that was made at the same time was it at the same time? I can't remember if it was at the same time. Maybe it was later in the game. Yoro Hato came on for Joshua Champong as well. And Malagusto went to right back. Yoro Hato went to left back. And all of a sudden, we just so for instance, we had 30% possession in the 30-odd% possession in the first half of the game. Second half, first 20 minutes of the second half, we were 60% possession. Bringing Andre Santos to partner Reece James in midfield and allow Enzo Fernandez, got so many Enzos, allowing Fernandez to push up and get a bit more involved in the attacking play. Gary Neville was saying I think Pedro Neto's playing as a left wing back. He wasn't really playing as a left wing back. It just he looked like he was still kind of playing as a winger, but it just allowed an actual box midfield and allowed everyone to push up a little bit. And ultimately, we were later rewarded with a goal. Very, very late in the game that came from Enzo Fernandez. There's just a couple of interesting stories. One in particular in this game was Liam Delap. So, tale of the duality of Liam Delap in this game, to be completely honest. He looked a lot better. He was not just drifting out wide and trying to put crosses in all the time. He looked a little bit more up for it, like he was getting involved. Cole Palmer put a couple of really nice through balls through the middle that he tried to get onto. He had a shot and it was okay, cool. Liam Delap doing strikery things. That's nice. That's what we would like to see. But then also Liam Delap doing very Liam Delap style things I can't even remember who it was. I think it was Kuzanov, the young Man City centre-back who was brought on later in the game. They had a little tussle up by Man City's goal, and basically Liam Delap just launched him into the sidelines, man. Just absolutely launched him behind the goal, and it kicked off a little bit. Liam Delap got a yellow card. City players were not happy about it. Liam Delap, man, I'll put it in the thumbnail with his little championship wrestling belt, man. I was like, chill out, bro, chill out. We actually saw some positive signs from Delap today. I saw more from Delap in that 20-minute spell today than I've seen from him in the last couple of games that he started for Enzo Maresca. Enzo Maresca definitely doesn't seem to work well with a striker like Delap, which is unusual because they've actually worked together before, which is one of the reasons you would have thought you'd have been happy to see him in the team in the first place, but that was not meant to be. So, yeah, Enzo Fernandez got the goal late in the game, man, which is another good thing, isn't it? Because that shows good mentality to score a goal that late, and you got to think a lot of that will have been brought in by the change that was made at half-time, wasn't it? Because the change was made at half-time and all of a sudden we get a foothold in the game again, and it's just look, maybe we can actually get something out of this. And they managed to kind of keep that mentality right up until the end of the game, where we scored another goal. Do you know what I mean? And we were still pushing to try and get the winner as well. So that's great. Got to give that to the team, the players, the boys, even with everything that's going on at the moment, even though it was a difficult first half and they were 1-0 down, they kept their heads in the game, man, and that's really, really, really important. It would have been awful today. The worst thing that could have happened today is we just got plastered. Do you know what I mean? If we'd just got smashed 4-5-0 or something like that, absolutely no response. And that ultimately would have just made it more difficult for when Liam Rosenior comes in, wouldn't it? But that is absolutely not what happened. And again, fair play to Callum McFarlane. Also, massive shout out to Reece James today, who had a wicked game. Definitely a bit all over the place, some two dangerous challenges, man, stepping on people's feet. He did it 3 or 4 times in the game. Got a yellow card in the second half. Chilled out a little bit after that. But apart from that, he's just looking good in midfield now. Do you know what I mean? I think it's going to be really interesting to see whether the Reece James midfield experiment is one that we continue with. You would have thought it'd make sense, because if we don't buy another midfielder, our midfield depth, lacking Lavia, lacking Dario Asugo, do you know what I mean? And maybe Andre Santos is going to get more game time, which is good, but with Malagusto having gotten a lot of game time this season, getting lots of experience and growing into his game, and we already know how good of a right back he was under Pochettino. So if he gets used in a bit more of like a orthodox right back role, maybe we could see more of Reece James in midfield, man. I wouldn't hate it at all. I would have thought, I mean, the thing is, it depends as well, doesn't it? Because Rosinia has been playing a back three at Strasbourg. Do I expect us to just change our formation to a back three? No, not necessarily. Because he hasn't exclusively been playing a back three. He kind of chops and changes as is needed for each individual game. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because, you know, although the model is like buy young players, one of the things is buy versatile players, isn't it, as well? So maybe it's going to be less of a case of like, always start with the same formation, but players can play very different positions, like Marco Correa and Malagusto playing all these crazy different positions and stuff. Maybe the versatility will still be there, but maybe we're just going to start to see more like different formations. I don't know. Frank Lampard tried to do something similar. Thomas Tuchel threw around a few different formations every now and again, although he mostly used three at the back as well. So, you know, we'll have to see how it goes. Also, it's just one of those. It's so easy to try and absolutely pull this game apart tactically and be like, oh, what does it mean for the future? Ultimately, what it means for the future is we have a crop of players that can get a draw out of Man City. Do you know what I mean? After they've had some not great results recently, but at the same time, like, they're smashing it and they're second in the league. But, you know, and now actually we've just widened the gap between them and Arsenal, which is a bit of a backhanded thing, isn't it? It's like, yes, we got a draw against Man City, but now Arsenal are pulling ahead. So, you know, don't love that. But at the same time, it kind of backs up something that I was saying, man. Like, look, let's, like, you know, we'll talk about it a little bit. Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit. Maresca is obviously being gone. All of the conversation that's being had is about the ownership, and I'm not supporting the ownership. I'm not supporting the ownership. What I am saying is that there are two conversations to be had in this moment, like right now. The season that we're in, the team that we've got, are good enough to be further along than we currently are. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's what's starting to happen is a lot of people are starting to pin everything that's gone wrong on the ownership, and I don't believe that. Like, I do believe Maresca was culpable for a lot of the bad results that we've gotten. I don't think we can just blame the ownership for picking up one win in 8 Premier League games now, because although we got the point today, that is now 1 win in 8 Premier League games. I think that Maresca himself has come out and said things like, oh, I wish I'd have played Josh Achiampong instead of Tosin, and whatever you think about the ownership, and don't get me wrong, like, I am not loving it either, but whatever you think about the ownership, Maresca playing Tosin over Achiampong wasn't the medical team's decision, wasn't the owner's decision, was it? That was his decision. He should have played Achiampong. So this is it, man. Like, we can talk about the owners. You know, I know there's the protest coming up on the 17th as well. If any of you are going to the protest, be safe. Be respectful, be peaceful, good luck, and, you know, make your voice heard. But there's, you know, don't get drawn into anything that you don't need to get drawn into that ultimately degrades the quality of your message. Let your words be heard with ears. Do you know what I mean? Not with pain receptacles, for instance. That's about as politically correct as I can say it. But ultimately, like I say, man, like, I want to see a change in the model. If we have another window where we bring in more of the likes of Garnacho, João Pedro, these young players that are coming in because they're either good deals or they look like they could be really good long-term or whatever, I don't want to see any more of that, man. Like, if we want to press on, go for a title challenge, the one thing I hope the protest can do at the very least is get the owners to think about changing their model and start trying to bring some experience into the team to appease not only the fans, but whatever manager you have as well. Liam Rosinia loves working with youth. Do you know what I mean? He's come out and literally categorically said it. I love working with youth players. I love working with youth players. That's absolutely great. And, you know, he's going to have to because he's coming to Chelsea and that's kind of all we've got at the moment. But no manager worth his salt at all, whether it be Liam Rosinia, whether it be Graham Potter, whether it be Thomas Tuchel or whatever, or Enzo Maresca, no one is going to turn down some experience in the squad. It's not even a case of like, it doesn't need to be go back to the Roman era, does it? It doesn't need to be throw 300 grand a week at whoever scored the most goals in the last calendar year. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be like that. But at the same time, there needs to be a balance. And this is something I find quite interesting, actually. When you break it down, Todd Boehly went in and spent loads of money on what looked like good experience, but he spent it on the wrong players. Egbali is like, forget about experience, don't care about it, but what I want to do is bring in loads of really young players that we can improve their value and, business. The truth of the fact is, the perfect storm is probably somewhere in the middle of the two, isn't it? So instead of hating each other and going for your polar opposite models, compromise. Use one of one, one of the other. Do you know what I mean? I think it is a good idea to have a reasonable amount of focus on youth and the future, and the fact that we're going to have a multi-club model means that that's just going to be the case. It's inescapable. But also from the Todd Boehly perspective and the Chelsea fans' perspective and probably the majority of managers' perspective, bringing in some experience for those young players to grow up around and to learn from, to get it's like Thiago Silva, wasn't it? Like, look how much better every single centre-back that played next to Thiago Silva looked when he was there, just because it wasn't just about his age. He's done it in all of the biggest leagues now, and he's won everything everywhere. And he's just an absolute consummate professional. Not everything everywhere, but you know what I mean. And it is so important to have a few players like that, man, especially in defence, especially in midfield, especially for rotational purposes and stuff as well. We haven't got a John Obi Mikel. Do you know what I mean? We need a John Obi Mikel, man. John Obi Mikel was not a flashy, fun player to watch, but he was functional and he did a job. He kept things cool, he kept things calm, and he knew exactly how to do his job. So like I say, man, I hope that is what can come out of the protests. That is what can come out of the future. And ultimately, there needs to be some sort of compromise for me between the two ideas. Because like I said, the youth idea isn't terrible. We're just doing too much of it. And buying experience in the way that Todd Boehly did was a bad idea. But obviously, he's got the foundations of the right idea. And if we can blend those two things together, I think we can do really well. The other interesting thing is next year, a lot more of our players are going to be out of that really young period and into their 23s, 24, 25s. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of the players we already have will kind of start to fit into that bracket of player that is a bit more experienced as well. So we can't just go turfing them out. Do you know what I mean? A la Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, you're too old now, you got to go. Do you know what I mean? We can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. For instance, Pedro Neto is a good example of that. I would hate to see us sell Pedro Neto just because he's probably the most valuable asset that's easy for us to sell at the moment. So that's it, guys. That's a little bit of a mix of the match review and ultimately just a little bit of a commentary on all the absolute nonsense that's going on at the moment. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Like I say, I think probably either tonight or tomorrow, Liam Rosenior is going to be announced. And we'll see what happens when he comes in, man. Do you know what I mean? He's there's been nothing on social media, football social media over the last few days for Chelsea fans, apart from clips of Liam Rosenior. So I think we're all starting to get to know him a little bit already, even though he's not here yet. So we'll just have to see what he does, man. We'll just have to see what he does. So, guys, I'm going to wrap the video up there. Ultimately, point at the Etihad. Yes, wicked, great. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, I opened the video with it, man. That would have been good if we still had Maresca and had won more than one in our last 7 Premier League games. Do you know what I mean? In a lots of different contexts, getting a point at the Etihad this season is good. So that's not the beginning of momentum, really, because everything is still going to be very up in the air. We've got Fulham next in the Premier League. I think I'll be doing a watch along for that one with Kai from Behind the Dugout. So, come pop along for that, and we'll hopefully watch Liam Rosenior's first game in the dugout together, and we'll see what happens, man. So nice one, guys. Thank you all for sticking around until the end of the video if you did, and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.